So one thing that we've been doing is how to supervise your work from home team. I will say one thing that we implemented that my IT guy said, which was something called, I think it's called soft monitoring, where you can um, see all of the employees' screens at all times and take screenshots of them. We obviously got their approval before we did that, but that is one way that a lot of people who are more top down in terms of the way they manage, that's one of the things that we implemented so that we can still see what they're doing without it being as intrusive as kind of asking for responses right away. So I know, while I know it was a little bit big brother, I do think that that made us feel a little bit more secure when we did transition to working from home,
Yeah.
to ensure that the team is productive. And I have been using that as a tool as well, to let the team know. I have days where I notice that there's a decrease. And so we do things that are morale boosters throughout that time, when I notice a decrease in activity, so that we can kind of encourage them and motivate them to keep going. So that's what we're
Yeah.
doing right now, amongst working more on a project basis, instead of going on an hour to hour saying, what are they doing? Because I don't like the idea of micromanaging, but I think that there's a fear behind not micromanaging at this time. So I'm sure you have
Yeah.
a lot of good insights on that.
Yeah, you know what? Here's my thing. Don't micromanage to the point where they feel like you're kind of on them every 5 minutes, right? You want to
Right.
make sure that they have autonomy. They need to have
Yeah.
freedom to be able to know that you trust them,
Yeah.
in that they're trustworthy for you to let them do their job, right? And
Yes.
I think when you're supervising your work from home, I would so luckily our manager, he doesn't even micromanage us. We have our VP. I haven't seen any micromanaging on their end, which is great, because we do check-ins. We have our weekly training meetings every week. We have we're in touch with each other through Slack, through email, so we're always like constantly in touch. We
Mm-hmm.
all know what work we're doing and how
Right.
we're being responsible. One of the things though that I would definitely say in regards to is, rather than micromanaging, you want to engage your team and
Right.
make sure that they're reporting to you on their own, so they know, oh yeah, I got to go and let my manager know what I'm up to. And in order to create that engagement while you're working from home, the first thing I'm going to say is check in with your team every day. So one of the ways that we can check in is to make sure that we do daily check-ins, like on the internet, so like on Zoom. So for example, like actually it's funny because our CEO was just talking about that today in our staff meeting, because he's like, we need to start doing daily check-ins more often so we know what we're doing, what we're getting done. And we're like, yeah, that would be a good idea, because that's something that should be done. And I'm like, that should be done a long time ago.
Right. No, it's true. It's true, because that's what, it kind of helps everybody stay on the same page, instead of just, I think without real clear direction, it's hard for a team to work. They can work
Exactly.
on different projects, but they really won't work together and build things out if we don't have that kind of direction. So that's a good point.
Exactly. So do your daily check-ins with your team. Make sure that your team is, like it could be a 5 or 10 minute check-in in the morning. So 8 o'clock in the morning, have everybody come on Zoom with their video cameras on, say hello to
Mm-hmm.
everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and just, how are you doing? Ask them how they're doing.
Oh
Ask
yeah. Yeah.
because they want you to engage with them. So ask them how they're doing. How's your morning been so far? What are you expecting to get done today?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you're taking your breaks. Make sure you're taking your lunch. You got to
Yeah.
remind them we're all working from home, and even my own manager, my our VP, they've all said we don't even take breaks. We forget about it because we're so focused
I
on work.
I know I do. I go hours without realizing it, because when you're, in some ways, as you said, you're working more from home. I have back-to-back meetings set up, and then in between I take my phone calls, and the whole day's gone by, and I'm like, oh look, it's nighttime now. But that's a
Exactly.
really good point, and the whole team, I'm sure, feels the same way. And I feel
Yeah.
on this, on my end, that they're more stressed out when we're not going around. I like to check in with the team and be like, hey, when we're in the office, of hey, how's your day going? How's your weekend? Those types of little things make us feel like, hey, things are still normal. So
Yeah.
that's a good point, is to still do those check-ins and that human touch of working together. Yeah.
Yes, and because we're all working from home, we be in touch in one way or another.
Hmm.
Zoom is definitely one way, but if you want to do Slack, I don't know if who uses Slack, but our company, we use Slack. It's a great way for us to have our chats and our communications with everybody in our team.
Yeah.
And we're on there all day. We can chat with our phone. So like I have my phone, I have Slack on my phone, so I'm able to use Slack on my phone to communicate with the people that I talk to every day and my team, and we can check in with each other throughout the day doing that.
Right.
I think that that's a really good communication strategy. We also have Uber Conference and Dialpad, so if we need to get on the phone, we just hit the Dialpad button. And Dialpad is a really great program, by the way. If you don't know about it, it's if you get rid of your phones in the office and download Dialpad, and everybody gets their numbers, everybody gets extensions, and all you got to do is just use your Dialpad app on your phone or on your computer, wherever you're at on the web.
Right.
And
Right.
communicate, just stop, call, do that. You don't need to have an actual phone off
Physical
to your
phone.
desk anymore. Yeah, exactly. It's a web phone.
Yeah.
And then you can do Uber Conference. So just communicate daily, talk to everybody, be proactive. Don't wait for your employee or your team member to speak up. If you're a leader, I would say ask yourself and do some one-on-one chats. Like try to see if you can or do a phone call. Like grab your phone, dial the number of your team member and just be like, hey, I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. I just want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
So it's so important to be able to have that going.
Right.
And definitely collaborate with each other. I think the more collaboration we have, the more productivity. It really helps us to supervise work from home without having to micromanage.
Good point. Very good point. And I was going to say that, we had, so we use RingCentral as our VoIP phone system, right? But that RingCentral has those components like Dialpad and like Slack, where it has an integrated chat feature and we can text from there and use it as a soft phone. And I'm so happy that we implemented that a little while ago, because what we found is the transition from from office to home was almost seamless. Our receptionist, she's taking all of our calls through her soft phone, right on her cell phone, through the app, and she's still transferring calls. I had a few clients who said, are you guys in the office or are you at home? What's going on? Because it still feels like we're together. It's not perfect at the end of the day. It's not going to be exactly like what we need it to be, but it's pretty close. So we're happy with that. So that's a really good point. One thing I do want to say that I like doing performance reviews. I like doing evaluations. When I was, working in different departments, I liked it because I liked the feedback. But I also recognize that if that kind of feedback and doing performance evaluations, which are so important in like a traditional work setting, I like to do them quarterly if possible. But one thing I'm worried about is when all you hear from the employer is bad, 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 or what you can perceive as bad, bad, bad. It can be really, you can lose a lot of motivation in that. So what's a good way to still keep those types of things, performance evaluations and other ways for a team, for your staff to improve without it being as harsh as it can feel necessary, but it feels harsher when it's coming just, through Zoom or something else and it's not in person?
Yeah, great question. Oh my gosh, I actually just had my performance review done just last week, and I'm glad
I love performance reviews. I really do. I'm like, tell me how I can do better. Which is weird, but
I think performance reviews are great because we do annual performance reviews, and I'm like, no, you need to give performance reviews every 6 months.
Yeah.
I feel at least every 6 months. The reasons because you're trying to see, okay, how's this employee doing, especially if it's someone who's brand new coming into to work in your office. You're giving them the first 6 months, assimilate themselves in the office to make sure that they know the ins and outs and they know people they're interacting, they know what their job is and they're able to do it. Then you can kind of go back and say, we'll be looking at your performance for 6 months, where, we think you're doing a great job and, and things like that. And here's areas to improve on. Now, how to do a performance review positively is this. Always, always, always talk about what is positive about that employee. So if you're analyzing how they communicate, talk about how well they communicate. Asia, you communicate really well. You're very effective with your communications. You're emailing your clients on time. You're making sure that you're, on top of the things. Here's areas that, I think you can improve on. So if you're saying improvement, you're not criticizing them. You don't want to use the word criticize. And that could be my Toastmasters talking because, in Toastmasters, we're always told when we're giving evaluations and feedback on speeches, not to use the word, criticize or let me give you a critical review or, criticism is not looked at as a positive word. But if you're saying, here's your strengths.
Well, it's about improvement, right? So I always think you can only improve if you know some strengths and some weaknesses and know how to kind of come up on both of them. So yeah,
Exactly. So if you're addressing their strengths and then you address areas that they can improve on to make their strengths and their weaknesses come together in a better way where they can improve upon their leadership, I mean, that's going to actually help them even to get promoted. If you
right,
see
right, exactly. They can take on more work and more challenging work and get promotions and I think that and feel more fulfilled if they're taking on that. Yeah, so that's a good point. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
So
That's good. Yeah.
yeah,
So I
of
think
course.
we kind of talked about a little bit of this, but disconnected team is what's a good way to keep the team cohesive. One thing I've been trying to do is I've been playing Jackbox when I can with the team. I've missed a few sessions because things got crazy, but are there other ways that you think that they can, an employer can work or employees can work together to kind of, if you're missing the happy hours and the game nights and things that you're used to doing as a team that kind of
Yeah.
keep you strong and keep you bonded, what's a good way to kind of replace that?
You know what? Have virtual happy hours.
Have,
You
sorry?
know, have virtual happy hours.
Virtual happy hours. Yeah.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
can have everybody come on Zoom, like say, for example, hey, we're gonna meet up this Friday at 4 o'clock. We're gonna have a virtual 1 hour happy hour. Let's come, let's have fun. We can play virtual games. If
Mm-hmm.
you're using Zoom, you can do breakout rooms and bring people back together again. But you're having samosas, like it's funny because I said samosas because like our
Having
happy hour,
snacks. Yeah.
I know our team is actually going to be doing a happy hour next week, and we're talking about come and bring your samosas with you, and it's like it's so funny since we're samosas are Indian delicacies, right? So
Yeah. Right. Well,
yeah, it's so
I think
funny.
yeah, we I like doing that, and I think it's always good for I like to hang out, have a happy hour with my team because it's good for them to see a relaxed environment, not a like crazed out like okay we got to get all this done. Instead, it's good to have that relaxed environment. I've even seen people saying to do karaoke nights. I don't know if anybody wants to hear me karaoke, but at the same time, it's kind of an interesting idea of finding different ways to like connect. And I think
Yeah,
that I my goal at the end of this is the team will feel even more bonded because we've been through all of this together and to look at that
exactly.
silver lining.
Exactly. So I definitely think that it's a really great idea to just be able to do things, that kinds of things, virtual happy
Mm,
hours, karaoke, virtual karaoke. Even maybe I would say like create like a little club in your company, like a club where everyone can join in for speaking or like just like a general, like let's have a fun club, club night where we can just go and have fun and do something
yeah.
at a virtual level. Because I mean, right now that's how we are. And then of course once we're back in the office, we want to continue doing more fun things to
Right.
keep our teams together. We can't keep them disconnected like this, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point. Well, so one thing, I'm noticing and I've been telling my staff is over communicate. Because I love emails. I spend all day on my emails and I sometimes can write an essay or a short story about a client before I'm sending it out because I want the team to have the information. But I have been telling them that, and I've seen that transition is that over communicating right now is necessary, but there can be too much communication sometimes as well.
Yeah.
So what's the most effective way to kind of communicate a lot of these details without overburdening everybody with tons of emails?
That's a great question. I send a few emails, don't send out too many, right? So,
So guilty
you
of
know,
that.
we're all we kind of can't get away from email. I'm going to be honest, and especially when we're working remotely, it's really hard to get away from email.
Yep.
So I would say, have an open door policy with your emails, like maybe set a boundary. Okay, we can send out a couple of emails here and there. Use Slack, use different channels. You don't always have to be on email, to email each other all the time because then you can
Right.
bombard somebody's inbox. But if you're using like Slack to
Yeah.
chat with them, or you're like, let's say, you can say, hey, let me get on Zoom with you really quick. I got to talk to you about something. You can do that, and
Yeah.
effectively stay out of that inbox as much as possible.
Right. That's a
Yeah.
that's a really good point. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
trying. I'm trying. I'm trying to get better.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, hey,
Yeah.
look, communication is so necessary, right? So you want to communicate to your team, but I can't stress this enough. You have to motivate your employees by
Yeah.
making sure that they're all communicating and staying positive with one another. But try to use all of the different channels. Don't just stick to one.
Right. Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
All right, new environment, new structure. I feel like we've gone through bits and pieces of this already. So, but new environment, new structure. I think that adapting to this, we may have touched on a little bit of this already, is, but I'm sure you have some notes on this topic as well, is how to kind of adapt to the change.
Adapting to change, it's gonna be a little bit, how can I say, it's going to be a little transitional. It's a transitional period. We're going to be dealing with a lot of change. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be pretty difficult in the beginning. But as we're getting used to a new environment and creating a new structure, things are going to start to kind of get into place again. And definitely one of the things is you want to create communication channels. You want to make sure you've got tools ready for remote work, because when you see a new environment, it's going to say we've got more people that are going to want to work from home. Yes. And so how do we deal with that structure? And that's going to be having your tools ready, making sure IT has VPNs connected with your computers, with your employees' computers, so that they know, that they can work from home and access the VPN when they need to. Making sure that everybody's able to report to each other, and we have an open door policy. I think even more so than ever now, we need to have an open door policy.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't be like, no, only talk to me when I need it. I need you to talk to me now. Whenever you want. If you feel like you're sick, if you want to talk to me about something, come talk to me. I have an open door policy. If I'm not busy in a meeting, come on over. We need to do that. We need to be flexible, and we need to create trust. I think that trust building is one of the most important things. I can't stress that enough, how important building trust is.
Yeah.
You want to trust your employees' capabilities, their motivations, like how reliable they can be during this time. This is so crucial. So be flexible. I was thinking about this, and I don't know about you, Nupur, but I think what we should do is we should look at creating work weeks where employees can work from home. So like, let's say, for example, like this is my dream schedule. I can work from home Monday and Friday. So effectively I'm home for 4 days. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I can go work in the office.
Right. You know what's funny is, I work with my father, and him and I have, from when I started to now, we've had so many changes. And one of the changes that I've been thinking about implementing is working from home. And a lot of companies, especially a lot of startups and tech companies, they have that as an option. And we're a small business, right? We're small to developing to mid-size, but we're still a small business. So the thoughts behind that is there's this traditional idea of working in the location, of being on an hourly, when you clock out, you clock out. And I like that idea because it separates you from your work schedule. But I also really, truly feel like now more than ever, I've been getting in my team's way sometimes, that maybe me being there or being so available to them sometimes even. That's one interesting thing I noticed, is that my team has become stronger because they know that I'm not always there. And they depend on themselves more, which is awesome. And aside from that, because there aren't all these other distractions and noises and other things that are happening, we like to all talk to each other, but that has actually made us more productive. And so I am also thinking of the same thing, which you're talking about, is converting some of the team to have working, and making sure they have counterparts in the office so that people can still get questions answered. But I feel like, this has been a very good trial, and I try to think silver linings. And this is a good way to start to transition the team to think of working from home. I do think that as a single woman, it's easier to work from home. I will say that. I think that if I had a family to take care of and those types of responsibilities, I wouldn't feel the same way. So I think that those dynamics will shift. And I know a lot of young professionals who are married with no kids, or are single, or who have kids who are older, right? Who are, if they're not young professionals, then they have older children. This is great. But I think that if you have young kids, or you have a family to take care of, and you feel that responsibility when you're home, that can be really challenging.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Two sides to that.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, if you're working from home and you don't, have kids that are making a lot of noise all the time, or, things like that, that can be difficult. So having the option of, hey, come to the office and work, or work from home on days that, you have some quiet time, you have that flexibility. I think that'll really help. I mean, for me, it's just, right now it's my mom and I. So, living in a house. So, other than her making noise, which she doesn't do often, right? I mean, it's just like the TV's on or something in the background. But my point is you can absolutely make it where you can work from home, you can work from the office, or you can mix up where maybe half of your day can be spent in the office if you have to make phone calls and
Mm-hmm.
do meetings.
Do
And then the
meetings,
other
right?
half of the day, the other half of the day you can work at home where all you're doing is, dealing with emails and paper. So,
Yeah.
you can kind of mix it up that way.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
definitely.
it shouldn't be as stressful, especially for those who have families. All your noisy stuff that you got to do can be done in the office, but
Hmm.
when you're home, you can check emails, you can do other things, and finish your the other half of your day like that. So
Yeah.
there's many ways to be flexible. We
Yeah.
just have to get on.
Yeah, yeah. No, very good point. I'm definitely getting in that gear where I'm thinking maybe this is the time to start, implementing those strategies of transitioning us to work from home more. But we do meet clients in the office, and I think that I don't want us to lose that personal touch. And there is just something different about sitting with somebody in person. And
Yeah.
I think that's
Oh yeah.
really hard, no matter what, even on Zoom. It's hard to replace that. But on a
We
on a
we
much
need
larger,
humanistic. Yeah,
sorry.
we need that humanistic touch. We need
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
We can, I
Exactly.
mean, like, once things open up, go and go see your colleagues. Yeah, we're gonna still sit 6 feet apart. We're still gonna kind of deal with that for a little while.
Yeah.
But I think, like, as we start to come back to some sense of normalcy in
Yeah.
regards to our social life,
Yeah.
you know, seeing each other for coffee and spending that time together is going to be much more valuable now than it ever was. I think.
Right. No, good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Well, the last thing, question that I had in terms of I love HR. I think we've talked about this, is that I find it interesting. My
Yeah.
degree before accounting was in HR, so I always find this fascinating. So, what is the role of HR, during the pandemic, and what are you looking at changing after? Because I'm sure there's going to be huge changes.
Yeah. I mean, so here's the
Broad
thing about
topic
the
though.
pandemic. No,
Hmm.
no. It's a great topic right now because look, we're still in the midst of the pandemic. It's not
Yeah.
over yet,
Yeah.
right? And right now, obviously, we now know and have tested the waters with remote. So that's definitely a new norm now for most of us working. We have a new norm for the healthcare, industry. We have a new
Hmm.
norm now for groceries, how
Yeah.
groceries are, how we go to the grocery store, how we interact with people. Everything has changed, and so the role of HR is obviously going to change.
Yeah.
Um, I think one of the things that I'm seeing that's already happening now is, with HR is, you know, having to become more savvy with your laws, your
Yeah.
employment laws. I think
Yeah.
that's a huge, you really, I think I'm pretty sure HR is going to come out with some kind of a master's program or a certificate program for just employment law. I haven't seen any of that yet, but
Yeah.
that might be the case
Yeah.
because you're going to have so many new laws and rules coming out on how to do the PTOs now, how to make sure you're documenting everything with your employees, how to make sure that everyone's able to work from home and you still have a structure going because that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
I think after the pandemic, of course, there's going to be new remote work policies. There's a lot of people right now who are looking for jobs. So we're going to have a lot of competition. So HR is going to be really busy with their talent acquisition departments and trying to source
Hmm.
the right candidates and bring people in. I think
I think recruiting
also,
is just going to explode after all of
oh
this in a
God,
different way, in a very different way. Yeah. Yeah.
it's already going through. I mean, you have virtual job fairs now. You have people that are doing drive up job fairs.
Right.
I just heard about that on the news today. They had a drive up job fair. You drive in your car,
I
you
agree.
give your resume, you talk to the person one on one, and then
Wow.
you drive away. And it's like all
Yeah.
sitting in your car, having that distance, putting that mask on. But I mean, they're doing it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of these changes, and there's going to be I can tell you, there's going to be a hiring boom. Like I just have a feeling once things are coming back and people start to open up the doors again and we're reopening, huge hiring boom is going to happen. A lot of people are either going to get their jobs back if they were, or they're going to find jobs. There's going to be a lot of competition,
Yeah.
and so HR is going to have to HR is going to have to do a lot of changes with their trainings,
Hmm.
onboarding.
Hmm.
And I think even with their benefits, healthcare especially right now is a huge deal. And I think the way that we provide healthcare, since the benefit to our employees is going to change, and we need to start thinking more forward than backwards in regards to our healthcare, which I
Hmm.
think a lot
Hmm.
of employers are starting to realize because they're like, we have to put ourselves in the shoes of our employees.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
What
very
are
true.
they going through so that we can get them the right type of benefits and healthcare that they need.
Yeah.
A lot of people lost their healthcare during this pandemic because they lost their jobs or they were furloughed. So we really need to think about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
very good points. Very good points. And I mean, one thing that I'm noticing on our end is we were assisting clients and supporting them in terms of their loans, their PPP loans and their EIDL loans. So with that, a lot of people will want to quickly hire employees, especially if they laid them off,
Yeah.
because they want to convert that money as quickly as they can into a grant. That's the, dollars and cents of it on that end. They are going to want to do that. So I think that I agree with you that there's going to be a boom because they need to spend that money quickly in order for it to be considered a grant. And they will try to do
Exactly.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and right now I know that they have the loans from the government for like what is it, the payroll
Yeah.
protection plan.
Yes,
So I
the
know
PPP,
that's
exactly.
there. Yeah. So if you're not if you're not using a payroll protection plan the way that you're supposed to use it, you're not going to be granted the forgiveness for it. So
Exactly,
you
exactly.
got to be
So
careful
I,
with
I
that.
think that's going to be a big factor contributing
Yeah.
towards a hiring boom. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so that's a really good point. And I wanted to put your information up there so that if people can ask questions while we kind of finish up, because we can talk for hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do want to mention, people, if anybody has questions, should they contact you directly by email? Is that the best way
Yeah.
to handle
Yeah,
handle
email
it?
is the best way right now to handle things. Hey, I'm already bombarded with phone calls. But if you email me, I will always respond and I will let you know, whatever questions you have to, what you need answered, we'll do that. I
Yep.
can do that. I also do HR leadership consulting services. So if anyone is looking for, someone to kind of help them with some guidance, I do that as well.
Okay, good to know. And one thing I always try to encourage employers to do is to consult somebody if they don't have an HR in the house, is to consult aside from the whole COVID thing about their employee handbooks, about the policies, about things. And I think you work on a consulting basis, one-on-one with employers as well. Is that right? So
Yeah,
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 yeah.
definitely. I do consulting. So I mean, if there's questions and things like that that people need answered, I absolutely can services. So just contact me and let me know, and
Yeah.
we'll go from there.
I think habitually a lot of owners and myself included. I mean, I've been guilty of this too. Is that we do in-house HR, as in we make whoever is the manager or the administrative person in the office the HR person, even though they
Yeah.
have no like understanding of it, and they don't realize how weighty it is and how much it impacts everything. So having somebody outside of that can be so valuable. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for answering all these questions. I know that my clients have been asking it. I always get nervous about answering questions with in regards to this because HR changes kind of every day. That's how I feel accounting has been on a daily basis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daily changes. So you're always gonna be up to date.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else we missed? I think we went through the last few slides a little quickly, but is there anything else you wanted to add in that's really critical about right now?
I think we really touched on a lot of things today. So,
Yeah, we
yeah,
did.
yeah, we did a great job just talking about all this stuff. And again, if people have questions, feel free to contact me and we'll chat.
Yeah. Yeah. And same here. If you have any accounting and tax questions, feel free to reach out to us, info@factprofessional.com. And we're trying to keep everybody updated about the changes and do more of these types of interviews. And I can't wait to talk to you again after this and maybe do another session about all the other policies and things we need to get in place. So
Sounds good.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you. All
No
right. Well, I
problem.
will. Back to this. All right. So I will talk to you soon. And thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about all this exciting stuff.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I'm so glad we were able to do this and, have fun today. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. All right. Take care. Bye.